welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brett. In my hands is Muhammad Ali, Kinshasa, 1974, chronicling the infamous fight, or the famous fight, between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. This is a really, really interesting graphic novel. So it involves the photographer Abbas, and then J.D. Morvan is kind of the writer, storyteller, with Rafael Ortiz as the artist. I believe there is a letterer as well. Colors is Hiroyuki Ooshima. So this is an interesting graphic novel, as it said, is because it does, it blends Abbas's art, or his photographs, with the art of the graphic novel. And it isn't as much about Ali and Foreman themselves, but the fight from Abbas's point of view. He was a photographer and has some famous photos from that fight, and this graphic novel is kind of is his telling of the story of that history and a history-making event. The graphic novel also goes into a little bit of the history of how the fight came about, with Don King, Muhammad Ali's background, and George Foreman's background, as well as how they were perceived in Zaire, the nation where it took place. The graphic novel is fascinating. It's not quite mixed media, but it's really, really close. I mean, if someone wanted to call it mixed media, I would totally take it and accept it. It's just one of those, is like, on a page might have 2 panels and then a photograph, or it just might be all panels for a few pages. The graphic novel also is really interesting in that it has a bit of how the concept actually came about, like what brought this concept of taking the photographer's point of view and creating a graphic novel around it, and then also a bit about Abbas's contributions to it and his story. It's actually really, really interesting to read the interviews, or the back and forth between Morvan and Abbas, in that, yeah, I'll just leave it to that. It's really interesting reading it. It's not quite as gung-ho, all positive as you might expect. You're just it's really interesting, really, very, very honest, truthful back and forth of these creators. As I said, the art is fascinating. You get some famous photos in there, and then beautiful, beautiful art. And this is, I think, a great example of what I'm talking about. The first panel is a photo, and then you get 3 panels underneath that are the actual art itself. But then you get gorgeous, gorgeous art like this, of this 2-page spread of the pugilists who are about to go at it. And then back to this, we have a photo, and then a couple panels, and then some art on the other side. It's really interesting in that, it does this mix of photos and art of the actual, like, drawings. The mixing of it all, I think it's just really, really interesting, and helps bring it all together. I mean, the art alone is fantastic. Like, it really does a solid job of depicting everybody. But the mix with the photographs, like, there's some really iconic stuff in here that, you'll know when you see it. You'll sit there and be like, oh, that photo. Like I said, the back material is really, really interesting. It's a back and forth between the creators, and then some history about how it all came about, including some other concepts that were, like, initially pitched of this, how to use photographers' stories to tell other stories. I mean, this was a hell of a fight. It's classic. It is well known. This is a pretty key bit of boxing history. As far as the graphic novel, like, if you're into boxing, I think it's an absolute must. Like, if you are really into boxing, or any Foreman or Ali, like, it's a must. If you really like graphic novels, I give it a high recommendation, like, especially if you're into history. It does a really solid job of telling a story, and Abbas, like, it doesn't come off the greatest in it. Like, it's actually pretty interesting that he was involved in the story told. Like, it was just, I don't know, it kind of comes off as an ass at some points. But it's also, I think, it's just a good bit of history. Like, it tells it seems pretty fairly and straightforward, and I don't think there's a whole, there's some commentary, but, like, I think the commentary is just more of, like, hey, this is how things were at the time, more commentary, as opposed to, like, I disliked this fighter. It's good. It's really, really good. I think it's a really interesting combination of art and comic art and photography. It's a really interesting depiction of history and some really cool back material that I think is unique and fascinating. And, you know, I'd love to see more of this type of stuff. So out now this week, it's in comic shops, in bookstores. Go get it. Like, I think it's a really cool graphic novel. Go support your comic shop. I got a link underneath this video. Put in your zip code to tell if a shop's near you. No shop, no problem. We do have affiliate links. There are affiliate links, so we get a small percentage of that. By doing that, you'll help support our site, so thank you for that as well. I want to thank you for watching. We always appreciate that. And I want to thank Titan, who hooked us up with a digital copy. We already have a digital review up on the site based off of the digital copy, but I was so intrigued by this, I purchased my own copy because I really wanted to review it. But yeah, if you're into graphic novels, if you're into comics, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. So until next time, keep reading those comics and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.